Okay, quick question. Do you like the way you look dancing? Because believe it or not, when I started, I didn't like it at all. Before I was a professional dancer, before I taught thousands of beginners how to dance, I hated the way I looked dancing. So the tips I'm going to share today, they helped me a lot, so I know they will help you as well. The first thing that we have to do is we have to play to our strengths when we are dancing. So what that means is, if let's say you feel good about moving your hips, if you like the way you move your hips, even if it's just like one body part, right? Hips, use those movements the most when you're freestyling, when you're dancing. Maybe you are good at moving the arms and lower body isn't working so well, focus on moving the upper body. And maybe you prefer footwork. Focus on including as many footwork moves into your freestyle, because the movements that you feel comfortable with, they are going to look comfortable and you're going to look like you're enjoying what you're doing. So with an example, I can give you one of my clients, Claire. She, when we were doing like basic, kind of boring, generic movements, you can see that she's not enjoying herself at all. She's just kind of going through the motions. But when we found that she feels good with moving the hips, with moving the arms, then it's a totally different person on the dance floor. She enjoys what she's doing and you can tell. So same thing is going to happen if you focus on your strengths and then limit, the movements that, or the body parts that you don't feel as confident moving. And it's not only the body parts, it can be maybe you feel better doing the smooth movements, feminine, kind of sexy movements, rather than moving to the beat and staying on beat and hitting the beat with the steps, doing sharper movements. So it can be also like the style that you're leaning towards. Just whatever you feel good doing, use it the most. Tip number 2, it goes hand in hand with the first one. Find the moves that you like and create brand new versions of them. And I'll show you how super easy it is. So basically you double down on what you like. I do it all the time. This is how I come up with moves that I'm teaching on this channel, and it's super easy. So taking an example, let's do a little step tap. Very generic, basic move. Several things you can do with it. First of all, you can travel. You don't have to stay in one spot. So right away we're creating a version where we're moving back, where we're moving forward using the exact same step, right? Then what else? We can go around. We can literally, imagine you're on the dance floor, you have a person dancing there, you want to face them. So you're going to dance with them like this. Maybe you're doing like a little half circle and you can come back. Again, same move. You're not going to be going in circles, but you can like angle the body using the same step. Then let's say you want to look more groovy, more relaxed when you're dancing. So that means we have to add the upper body, right? So for example, to our step touch, at the same time as the foot touches the floor, I'm going to lean the torso away from it. Step, touch, step, touch. Literally all you need to change the look of this movement just a little bit. And if let's say you're good at moving the hips, we identified it in tip number 1, we can add hips to this movement. So one of the options that I love, always use, is the hip up. We're going to lift the hip over the foot that we touch the floor with, like this, just a little bit. And in order to do so, if you like this movement, keep the knees bent the entire time, because if you have straight legs, the hip is going to be stuck. So stay low and then just give it a little push. And if you want a more advanced option, one more option, we can rotate the hip to the back at the very same time as the foot is touching the floor. 1, 2, 1, 2. And there you have it, like so many different versions of the same exact step.
Not thinking about us. Then in my mind, you're next to me laying. Those memories keep playing. Am I high or am I crazy? Might let you take me back. Take me back, baby, back.
And guys, you can apply it to literally any step. You find the step you like, and then experiment with it. See how many different versions you can find. There's no right or wrong. Like, you can make anything work. As long as you're matching to the beat, like I showed you with the previous example, you can apply it to many, many different steps. Tip number 3, and this is also crucial because you don't want to be relying only on what you know. At some point you will run out of maybe options. So I would say it's very important to work on your weak points as well, right? So we play to our strengths, we double down on the movements that we like, but in the meantime, still work on the issues that you have, because what will happen is when you're on the dance floor and you know that, for example, yes, I can move the hips really well, I look smooth, but my arms look like this or like this, you're not going to feel confident. You will have this in the back of your mind the entire time you're on the dance floor, that you're lacking something or something doesn't look right. So if, let's say, you struggle with moving the arms, what I would do is I would spend extra practice session per week devoted just to working on the arms. And that can include, learning specific movements. I'm going to include my playlist with the arms. I have a lot of options there. So working on specific moves, it can include you experimenting with what feels good to you. So doing totally random arm movements, seeing what works, practicing in the mirror, and then also matching those arm movements to the hip moves. Because I would practice that ahead of time, like a combination, and not just practicing those two things separately, okay? Just to give you an example of what is easy to do with the step tap example I gave you before. The easiest thing as far as random arm movements, what I like to do, lifting. Slowly bring the arms up, however you want, slowly bring them down. This is what I call a random movement because it's not a dance move. It's a lift. You can lift your elbows, you can lift your arms. We all can do that. You can experiment with how you're lifting, right? It can be arms in front of you, it can be arms to the side, it can be arms on the body. So anything that you can think of, just do it. With the mirror, without the mirror, you will find what works for you. And if you don't know what your issues are, then feel free to book a free strategy call with me. There's going to be a link below. We can identify them. I can help you create a plan of how to tackle them, and hopefully we can work together to fix those issues. So when you're on the dance floor, you don't feel self-conscious. You can be confident, you can be enjoying yourself with other people. So again, link is below. One more tip, this is also crucial. Practice at home, right? Don't leave those tips until you already are on the dance floor. Practicing at home will be so much more stress-free because you're not being judged, nobody can see you. So you can, in peace, work on those weak points. You can identify what you like, practicing, double down on that. You will just feel more, free to experiment, free to make mistakes. That also is important because, not everything will look great right away. We have to look bad before we look good. So yeah, make sure you do all of that at home, so then dancing when you go out is much easier.